Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. I think that we are live. Yes, we should be. What's up guys and welcome back to the channel. If this is the first time we're meeting, my name is Oliver and I'm a soon-to-be master's graduate in economics from Alta University in Finland. And on this channel we talk about education and early career development, specifically here in Finland. And during these weekly live Q&A streams, I basically answer your most burning questions about living, studying and working in Finland. And how these live streams work is that in the description box below, there is a link to a Google form. And if you would like me to answer any of your questions, again, about studying, living and working in Finland live, please post your question into the Google form, once again, in the description box below, because this way I will have all of your questions here in front of me on the computer, and I will be able to answer all of your questions in a first come, first serve basis. Let's see. There we go. I think that now we should have the live stream public, which is always good. Anyway, so let's see, just a moment. Before we start with the questions, there were a couple of questions left from last week's, from the last live stream where we actually weren't live last week. I will first post the link to the live stream to our Discord server. And if you, for some reason, are not yet a member of our Discord server, I highly recommend that you join. The idea of the server is basically to build a community of people interested in studying, living and working in Finland. And in the server, I post updates about upcoming videos and live streams, just like this one. And we have a bit more personal dialogue about the different topics. All right, let's see if we get people joining in. Just a moment. Let's see. All right. Cool. All right. So anyway, let's jump actually to a couple of questions from last week. And first of all, Aditya, what's up? Welcome back to the stream. Do let me know whether or not you can actually hear me well. If the sound audio is too loud, just let me know and I will dial it down right here. Eric, what's up? Welcome to the stream as well. Mitä kuuluu? Mulle kuuluu ihan hyvää. Thanks, I'm doing actually quite well. Yes. What's up? Welcome to the stream as well. Guys, there are not actually that many questions in the Google form right now. So if you have any questions that you would like me to answer live, you know the drill. Post your questions into the Google form and I will get to them as soon as possible. Mohammed, what's up? Welcome to the stream as well. I'm doing fine. Thank you very much for asking. Hopefully you're doing fine as well. All right, let's jump into the first question of the week. This actually comes from Camilla from Chile, and the question from Camilla is from a couple of weeks ago. And Camilla has not yet decided whether or not she wants to study in Finland, but is interested in doing a master's in education. And her question is, hi, sorry if someone already asked this question. Please don't apologize. The whole idea of these streams is to ask questions and I will answer them. So just keep them coming and ask all the questions that you need. I'm a teacher in Chile, and to study in Finland has always been a dream of mine, but I have not decided anything yet. But my question is it possible to do? So that's a really good question. So I actually looked into this last week while we didn't have a stream. And unfortunately, if you want to do a master's in education in Finland, there are quite limited amount of options that you can do. For example, the University of Helsinki, which is basically the best university in Finland for teacher education, they have a couple of different master's degrees for education itself. However, the thing is that you will not be able to become a classroom teacher. You will not be able to become a, for example, high school teacher this way, because you need to get a specific degree that is currently not taught in English. The second thing is that actually it's in the Finnish constitution, if I remember correctly, that Finnish nationals have to be able to get education in Finnish. This basically means that you have to be able to speak Finnish in order to become a teacher in Finland, meaning any kind of subject teacher, classroom teacher, doesn't really matter. So every single person who teach full time in, for example, in primary school, middle school, or high school, they all have master's degrees in education, and then they have specialized into different areas which they teach. Then they teach. So, for example, if you have a biology teacher who teaches biology in high school, they will have a master's degree with a specialization in for example, biology or chemistry or something like this. They will basically have a master's degree in education. However, again, specialization in that specific topic. So, unless you speak Finnish, you will not be able to teach here, not even English in high school, because once again, you have to be able to communicate with the students in Finnish, even if you are an English teacher, and you will need to have the specific education required by the Finnish education system in order to teach Finnish students. So unfortunately, there are not that many options. There are a few specific master's degrees in education, and I recommend that you check out the University of Helsinki for them. I don't remember them by heart, what they are, but I definitely recommend you to check them out. Let's see, who else do we have here? Zaidrak, what's up? Welcome to the stream as well. I'm sorry, Zaidrak, welcome to the stream. We have Amir, what's up, my man? Welcome to the stream as well. Jet, what's up? Welcome to the stream. Moi to you as well. Muhammad, welcome to the stream as well. Awesome to have you here. Guys, once again, just letting everyone know, if you have any questions that you would like me to answer live, there are actually not that many questions in the queue right now. So again, in the description box below, there's a Google link to a Google form. Ask your question through there, and I will get to them as soon as possible. There's actually interesting comment here that Jet is actually saying. Alta is a very highly ranked university, but MIT and Stanford are obviously at a different level. It is like comparing apples and oranges. Yeah, that's actually a very good point. This was as a response to Amir's question about, hey, does Alta University compare to MIT or Stanford in computer sciences? No. It's basically, if you think about the world, well, this is actually a difficult question because, of course, you have to understand where university rankings actually come from. University rankings by themselves do not mean that they always produce the best students. So the fact that you go to Stanford doesn't mean that you are the top of the world, because in the US system, you can basically, you don't necessarily always have to get in by your own, using your own skill sets or knowledge. This is a very, very heavy simplification of the problem or the issue. So university rankings by themselves don't tell you much actually about the quality of education and the quality of change in students from the beginning to the end, or from admission to graduation. However, rankings are a tool for comparing different universities. MIT, Stanford are, of course, at the top of the world in every single ranking, and Alta University is not even close to them. However, that does not mean that Alta University would be a bad school. Alta University is an excellent school, specifically in computer sciences, even globally. However, if your benchmark is Stanford, well, you close out 99.9% of all the schools in the world. So just, having said that. All right, the next question comes from Mikhail Nadirats, who is from Georgia, and Mikhail is a regular on the channel, which is awesome. And Mikhail is starting school this semester at the Hunkin School of Economics, doing a master's in finance, which is awesome. And Mikhail's question is, hey Oliver, first of all, thank you very much for all of the useful streams and videos. You're most welcome. If I have enough funds for studying in Finland, but I'm still seeking for a job, if I have enough funds for studying in Finland, basically referring to the minimum requirements that you need to have, the minimum requirements from the Finnish Immigration Service, meaning 560 euros per month for living costs. If you don't have this, then you will not be getting a residence permit in Finland. Getting back to the question, if I have enough funds for studying in Finland, but I still want to find a job, is it absolutely impossible to start working at the first year of studies? Great question. The answer is no. You are allowed to work even during your first year of studies. If you are a non-European Union or non-European Economic Area student, you can only work at, on average, 25 hours per week. However, there is nothing stopping you from working already in your first year of studies. However, you cannot rely on a job to finance for your living in Finland during the first year. So this is the rule. You have to have the funds, you have to have the money for the first year of studies in Finland. That includes your tuition and your living costs. Great question. The next question comes from Sanjoy, who comes from Bangladesh, and Sanjoy has not yet decided whether or not he wants to study in Finland, but is interested in doing a master's at the University of Tampere, specifically in the field of security and safety management. Nice. The question is, I have completed honors in master's in criminology, willing to apply for security and safety management master's program at the Tampere University in January period. I'm not sure that my honors background will fit for this. I'm not sure either. I have, to be honest, I have no idea what the honors background means. So there's no way for me to comment on this. What I would recommend you to do is to directly contact the University of Tampere admission service and ask them about this. Give them as much information about your background as possible, and they will be able to give you a more detailed answer. I have no idea. The next question comes from Sahil, who comes from India, and Sahil is starting school this semester, and Sahil is saying that he got admitted to the Åbo Academy University. Awesome, that is freaking awesome. Congratulations. Doing a master's in computer sciences. Nice. Congratulations, man. That's awesome. Åbo Academy is a really good school, and Turku is a beautiful city. So I'm sure that you're going to enjoy yourself. And the question is, I got admitted for my master's in computer sciences from to Åbo Academy University. I didn't get any scholarships, so I have to pay full fees, meaning 12,000 euros per year, and I also have to take care of my living expenses. My course is of 2 years, so my question is it worth spending this much money? Great question, and I can only give you my opinion. You have to make the decision on your own. And you have to also take into account that I do not have a computer science background. I'm from a business background, so I have a different way of thinking about this. Having said this, computer sciences and, for example, software development is a bit of a difficult topic nowadays because there are so many people saying that you don't need a official degree from computer sciences in order to become a developer. For example, Elon Musk from Tesla has famously said that he doesn't really care about your degree. However, the thing is that there are so many bad developers, bad or average developers, that you don't want to be one of them. What I'm meaning here is that doesn't matter how much demand there is for example, software developers. In order for you to get a high-paying good job, you still have to be better than most of the other people. And the thing here is that in the future, automation is going to take over a lot of different tasks. Of course, we're talking about a lot of business tasks like accounting, postal jobs, you name it. And my sense of this is that no matter what your field, computer sciences, business, biology, whatever, the higher the education you have, the better you are equipped for the future, considering that a master's degree goes way deeper into the topic than what your bachelor's has gone through. So this is a very high-minded answer to this question, but I think it applies to everyone here. I think that education is one of the best investments that you can do on your own. I understand that 12,000 euros per year is a lot of money. It's a lot of money. However, you have to also consider that having a master's degree and, you know, succeeding in your studies, in your master's, is going to open up a lot of doors. And for example, your salary development is going to be much faster, normally at least. With a disclaimer, you always have to know what you're doing. It doesn't matter if you have a doctorate. If you don't know what you're doing, then no one wants to, you know, hire you anyways. So yeah, I think that it's definitely worth the money. It's a lot of money still, but if you can afford it somehow, my suggestion is that you should go for it. Disclaimer, this is just my opinion. All right, let's see, who else do we have here? Hey, Harry, what's up? Welcome to the stream as well. Awesome to have you here as well. Amir, actually, by the way, just reminding everyone, especially if you are new to these live streams, if you have a question that you would like me to answer live, please post your question into the Google form, which is in the description box below. That the reason here is that the chat gets quite busy at times, and it's very easy for me to miss your question if you post your question into the live chat. If you post your question into the Google form, I have all the questions here in front of me in rows so that I can go through them one by one. I will every now and then jump back and forth from the form into the chat, but you know, if you post your question in the chat and I miss it, then, you know, I will miss it, and that's going to be unfortunate. Jet Gotti once again with a super sticker, man. You really want me to pull funny faces. Thank you very much, man. That is appreciated as always. Thanks so much for the support. I'm gonna give you a really quick funny face. I think that's close enough. Thank you. That's much appreciated. Cool. Then the next question in the form comes from Karina from Switzerland, and Karina is still in high school and is not yet sure whether or not she wants to study in Finland, or at least doesn't know what school she wants to do a degree in. However, is interested in doing a bachelor's in engineering, economics, or medicine. All right, cool, great choices. And the question is, just wondering, which subjects did you take during high school? How were your marks? Did your marks really affect your admission and journey at university? That's a really great question. Thanks so much for asking that. I have to say here that the way that our, just, you know, as a disclaimer, the way that the marks of Finnish nationals, the way that our high school in Finland affects our application process is quite a bit different from anyone who applies from outside Finland. So for us, basically, when I applied to university in 2011, what determined our admission was high school final grades, not just the final grades on the final score card, basically, but basically our final exam grades. So basically we have nationwide final exams, which are standardized, and they are done at the same time across the country. And those marks basically defined our starting points for our university applications. However, the second part, when a Finnish person applies to university in Finland, we have a very rigorous entrance exam, which you can either use alone, the marks from the entrance exam, or you can combine them with your high school final grades, whichever gives you a higher overall grade. And unfortunately, my high school grades were exactly average, so they weren't of any use for me in my university application. So what I basically had to do, I studied for 5 months for the entrance exams, almost 10 hours a day, 6 days a week. And I got really high scores, and I got into the best business school in Finland. But it was a lot of work. But yeah, my high school grades were exactly average. I've always been really bad at math. That's my big failing. And I would say that had the biggest impact on my university studies, because I've always hated, well, not hated numbers, but I've always had a just a moment. Um, so what was I saying? Sorry guys, there you go. So yeah, what was I saying? Yeah, so basically the fact that I wasn't ever good in math actually affected my studies quite a bit negatively, because business school is, even though everyone says that you can do business without numbers, it's not really true. And being really good at math, especially, you know, just basic stuff, helps you a lot with your studies, no matter what your subject is, whether it's management or accounting or finance. So that's basically one of the things that I would recommend if you want to study economics or engineering. Math, 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 study a lot of math, try to get as good in math as possible. And actually one other very surprising one was writing. So if you are not good in English or writing English, I would practice that a lot. And not just, you know, grammar, but actually writing good text, good essays, good and persuasive texts, because that's actually a very big part of business school, writing compelling texts. So that would be something that I would practice if I were to apply again. All right. But yeah, hopefully that gave you a bit of context to your question. You have a lot of really interesting options for your schools. Anyway, yeah, the next question comes from Eric, again from South Africa. Eric has been joining the streams for quite a while now, which is awesome. And Eric is actually coming to Finland for work, not for school, and specifically in the field of IT. And the question is, in the last stream you mentioned Oulu. I'm sorry. In the last stream, you mentioned that the city of Oulu hosts a bunch of technology companies. I assume Oulu is not Helsinki when it comes to being able to work with English. Do you think it's worth applying there, or should I focus on Helsinki for now? That's a great question, and it's a really difficult one because Oulu is a big city and it hosts a lot of really, really interesting technology companies. And you have to remember that technology companies in Finland are, the majority of them sell basically everything. Most of their business comes from exports or selling to other countries. So this basically means that the working language in many of the technology companies, even in Oulu, is English. Or if the official company working language or even if the official working language is not English, most of the technology departments still operate in English simply because it's easier. So I would actually look at jobs in both cities. However, my personal preference would be to focus your efforts on the Helsinki metropolitan area. So Eric, for you, do take note that the Helsinki metropolitan area is a big area which holds multiple different cities. The three most important are Helsinki, Vantaa, and Espoo, or actually Helsinki, Espoo, and Vantaa in that priority order. So if you're looking for jobs and you notice that something is there's an interesting opportunity in Espoo. Espoo is the neighboring city to Helsinki. They operate in the same metropolitan area, the same public transport system, etc. So just take that into account. But yeah, I would definitely focus on Helsinki, but Oulu is also another really, really great option. All right. The next question comes from Fleischman, yes, and Fleisch is once again a regular on the channel, which is awesome to have people joining the streams every single week. We are Warriors, what's up? Welcome to the stream as well. Awesome to have you here. And the question from Fleischman, yes, is what impacts do you think will COVID have on higher education in Finland after it's over? I'm interested because I still have a few years until university, so COVID will probably not be around by that time, knock on wood. But its impact could last that long, at least in my opinion. Yeah, that's actually a really interesting question. It's, of course, everything I'm going to say is speculation because there's no way to know. We are actually, the Finnish government is actually currently drafting plans for us going back to normal, or somewhat normal at least, because the situation in Finland has improved a lot. The vaccinations are actually doing really well. the number of cases has dropped significantly, and we have actually loosened quite a lot of many different restrictions. For example, restaurants have reopened again. And actually universities, at least Alta University, sent their students a newsletter, I think it was last week, saying that they are planning on starting offline teaching, so face-to-face teaching, next autumn, so 2021 autumn. Not fully, at least at first, but partially, most likely in steps. So I think that we are actually heading back to normal this autumn, knock on wood. Having said this, we have actually been talking with my girlfriend about the different effects and different things that universities might actually take away from what they have learned this year or during 2020. And I hope that one of them is actually the increase of online learning possibilities. So what I'm meaning with this is that a lot of people actually enjoy going to the campus, actually sitting in the lectures, listening to the professor at the location. However, there are also a lot of people who can concentrate much better when they're home and when they are able to move around, for example, cook while they're listening to a lecture, a really long lecture. And for example, my girlfriend actually does much better studying online because she has more flexibility through this kind of a system. So we're actually hoping that the universities are going to keep some of the online education opportunities through, for example, Steam or other different tools, so that you would have more options for doing your studies. One other thing that I think that is going to happen is that we are going to keep some precautions, mostly for hygienic reasons. However, I think that we are actually going towards a more normal situation starting this autumn, and I don't think that there are going to be that many negative impacts left after maybe the upcoming academic year. Of course, travel restrictions are going to be there for some time. So for international students, there are still going to be impacts. However, once you have arrived to Finland, I think that there is going to be a lot of things that are going back to normal. Cool. All right. The next question. Before actually we jump into the next question, I just want to say hey to a couple of other people who have just joined the stream. Shaik, welcome to the stream. Awesome to have you here as well. Shatnia, welcome to the stream. Awesome to have everyone here. Marwin, what's up? Welcome to the stream. We have Amandeb, welcome to the stream as well. Awesome to have you here today. And then we have Viral News, and then we have I think Ramil, and then Amandeep I already mentioned. Welcome everyone. If you have any questions that you would like me to answer live, please post your questions into the Google form that I have linked in the description box below. Any of the regular people, if you notice that people are posting a lot of questions into the chat, if you want to help me, just a bit, and remind everyone every now and then about the Google form that is linked in the description box below. It's a bit difficult for me to follow the live chat at the same time while I'm trying to think about what to say. So that would be really big help. All right, the next question comes from Yekte from Romania, and Yekte is starting school this semester at doing a bachelor's in international business at a University of Applied Sciences, but the name is missing. All right. And then we have the question, Terve, hello to you too. First, I want to say I truly appreciate your videos. They're really insightful and helpful. You're most welcome. I really appreciate the positive feedback. Most importantly, it's good to know that they are actually helpful. As for my question, I want to know if it would be better to apply for a residence permit once I arrive in Finland, since I am whether or not it would be better to apply for a residence permit once I arrive in Finland, since I am a EU citizen, or before arriving. Also, I was wondering how long does it usually take after applying for a student home to get offers for accommodation? Thank you so much for the answer. Great question. The first one is actually quite simple. As a European Union resident, as a European Union citizen, you do not need a residence permit to stay in Finland. I actually have a video explaining this on my channel. Basically, you need to look for a video where I explain all the things that you need to do after you have arrived to Finland. So as a European Union citizen, again, you don't have to apply for a residence permit. However, you have to register your right of residence once you have come to Finland. So that has to be done after you have arrived to Finland. Again, I have a video on this on the channel where I explain all the different steps that you need to take. And I think that I might actually just show what the video is so that you can find it. Just a moment. All right, so here. So if you go to the channel and use the search bar and just search for after, there you go. So first things to do after arriving to Finland for your studies, check out this video. This explains everything that you need to do after you have arrived to Finland. And for example, in your case as a European Union citizen, how you will register your right of residence in Finland as a EU citizen. To your second question about student accommodation and how long it usually takes for you to get an answer or offer, it depends on the apartment provider. However, I would be expecting for a multi-month wait. So if you, for example, apply for an apartment now, it's April, I would not be expecting an answer before maybe 2 months. So please be patient. Nothing is going to happen in a couple of weeks. So if you get an answer before before 1 month, you're going to be very lucky. So again, patience, 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 patience. Eric, thanks so much for the help with the chat. That's appreciated. The next question comes from Sabur from Pakistan, and Sabur is starting school this semester, doing a master's in chemistry, and specifically at Alta University in the School of Chemical Engineering. Nice. And the question is, I got admitted to Alta University with a scholarship. Congratulations, man. That's awesome. That's really, really cool news. You're going to enjoy yourself in Alta. Congratulations on the scholarship. That is going to be a big help. My question is that what are the... just a moment. My question is that what are the outcomes when a student has enrolled as an attending student? To be honest, I don't really get the question. I don't understand what you're meaning with the question. So if you want to reformulate the question, for example, in the chat, I will try to keep my eye on the chat and I will try to answer your question more precisely, but I don't really understand what your question is. If the question is about what to do after you have enrolled as a student, I also have a video about this. For example, after you have enrolled as a student, you can then apply for a student card. You can then register your electronic systems at the university. For example, get a university email. You get access to different intranets, etc. What else? There are a bunch of things that you need to you can do after you have enrolled to the university. Again, I have a video about this. Check it out on the channel. All right. The next question comes from Eric again. And the question is, can you tell if Finland is moving more towards a remote work culture or not? For example, living in Oulu versus, I'm sorry. For example, if I live in Oulu, could I work for a company in Helsinki? That's actually a really interesting question. My general answer here is no. Finnish people still enjoy working from the office, and it's still quite rare for companies to recruit people remotely. Even with the COVID year 2020, even though companies have gotten a bit used to remote work and actually recruiting people remotely, I would not say that we're going towards that direction. And I would also say that it's always a bit more of a risk for a company to recruit anyone to work remotely if you have the opportunity to work at site. So you would always be at a small disadvantage against other applicants if you were to apply for a job like this, or a job with this kind of terms. So if you want to work in Helsinki, I would recommend that you actually stay in Helsinki. If you want to work in Oulu, the same thing applies. So just keep this in mind. Let's see. We have a couple of comments in the chat. Jet Koti, I would like to say to everyone that there is no good or bad universities in Finland. It depends in which city would you like to live. Education in Finland is high quality irrespective of the university. Yep, I would agree on that 100%. A lot of people are blindly looking at university rankings and whether or not they rank at a certain list or whatever. The thing that you have to remember about different rankings is that not only are there multiple different ranking lists that look at different different things, but you also have to remember that most university rankings are not based on the level of education or the difference in skill sets or learning with the students comparing from admission to graduation. Rather, most university rankings are based on academic research and the quality of the research publicized. So please take this into account when you're looking at the different rankings. If you want to come to study in Finland, regardless of the school, my recommendation is that you forget the rankings and instead focus on the different programs that are available. And when you find a program that is suitable for you, then look more into the university or University of Applied Sciences and figure out whether or not that is the right school for you. If you start the other way around and look at the rankings, most of you will never find a program that is suitable for you because you're starting the wrong way around. If this makes any sense, hopefully it does. But yeah, really good point from Jet. I really do agree. All right, the next question comes from Joy, who comes from the United States. Welcome, Joy. Awesome to have you here. And Joy has not yet decided whether or not Finland is the correct country to work in. And Joy is interested in digital archives and data preservation. And the question is, does working as a tutor have the same sort of requirements as being a teacher? By tutor, I mean someone helping students outside of class with their studies, if that is common there at all. That's a really good question. I would say no. However, having outside class tutors in Finland is extremely rare. The only case where we usually have tutors are when we apply for universities, because again, I've mentioned before, when you apply into university in Finland as a Finnish national, we have very rigorous entrance exams. Basically, they're almost like SATs, but they're, country specific to Finland. And there are many different businesses that offer tutoring services for those exams because they're so competitive. However, during our education starting from kindergarten all the way to high school, it is extremely rare to have any tutors outside of your class, simply because we have such a comprehensive schooling system that we actually have personal tutoring inside the schools. So if someone doesn't do well, they will be offered tutoring services from the school, especially emphasized in primary school and secondary, in middle school. In high school, you have to be a bit more proactive about it. But basically, in Finland, we have a rule that no kid is left behind, meaning that, for example, in primary school, if you have a classroom where you have a couple of kids who learn a bit slower, there will be a separate teacher who will take care of them and get them up to speed. So tutoring is extremely rare in Finland and usually only reserved to those who have the money to pay for third-party service and who for some reason want to give more education to their kids, but that's usually unnecessary because our primary school system is so good. So a great question. You don't necessarily, if you were to work as such a tutor, you would not need necessarily a degree. However, you also have to take into account that if a parent would be interested in hiring you as a tutor, they're going to compare you to their class teachers who have master's degrees in education, early childhood education. So you have to take that into account as well. Super interesting question, though. Let's see. The next question comes from Nicholas from Malta. Awesome. Nicholas is starting school this semester at the University of Helsinki doing masters in biology. Nice. And the question is, I got accepted to study a master's in biology this year, and I have applied to HOAS apartments. And my girlfriend is also looking to apply for a master's in the next admission period. If she gets accepted, would it be possible to change the apartment and apply for a family apartment together in the future? That's a really interesting question. I don't see any reason why not. You would also, of course, have to contact HOAS about this specifically or separately, but I think, yeah, I don't see any reason why not. The one thing is that you cannot live in a in your one-person apartment together. Well, a lot of people do, but you are technically not allowed because you only pay rent for one person. So if you want to apply for a family apartment, yeah, I don't see any reason why you couldn't. So definitely recommend it. If you want to make 100% sure, if you're stressing about this, contact HOAS directly and ask this via email. I'm pretty sure they're just going to answer you with a simple yes, because I don't see any reason why not. Great question. The next question from the forum comes again from Eric, and the question is, how were you able to study 10 hours per day for 6 days a month, months on end, looking for some tips and try out new ways? Great question, Eric. By being absolutely stupid and having nothing to do. So fun story. So I'll try to keep this short. I had just gotten out of the military. So if you didn't know already, for some reason, in Finland, all men have to do a mandatory military service when they turn 18. You can, it's plus or minus a few years if you, for example, want to do your studies first. Regardless, we have a mandatory military service. We have a conscript service, and you have to do from 6 months to 1 year in the military, and then you are free to do whatever you want with your life. And most people do the military service right after high school. So after I graduated from high school, I went to the military, and I actually broke up with my high school girlfriend. And because the breakup was quite dramatic, I actually lost most of my high school friends. Basically because they were better friends with my girlfriend than me. And basically after I got out of the military, I had nothing to do for a year because I didn't have that many friends from high school left. And that's the reason. That's one of the main reasons why I was able to spend 5 months in the library doing nothing else than studying. And I would not recommend it. My study methods and my different techniques were awful. I would not use them anymore. I basically spent 5 months learning stuff by heart, stupid as, and it's not going to work. So there are much more efficient ways to study. And again, I've referred to these people previously, but I would, for example, look Ali Abdal on YouTube. He's really good at different studying techniques and learning techniques. And he has a really interesting YouTube channel. Go and check him out. So Ali Abdal, and I highly recommend his content on the personal education or development. Long story short, good question again. All right, the next question comes from Amir. So yes, Amir, I received your questions. I would love everyone to always be patient. It's gonna take a while to get to your question. So here we go. Amir is coming from Luxembourg, and he has not decided whether or not he wants to study in Finland, but is interested in doing a PhD at Alta University in computer sciences. And Amir's question is, I'm an MIT computer science graduate. That's cool. That's pretty impressive. Nice. And I have an MBA, and I have worked for Google and Microsoft, and I want to know how much will it take for me to become a CEO in Finland, because I have very good background and 3 years of experience in Silicon Valley. First of all, that's pretty impressive. I'm grateful that you are hanging out in the stream. You're putting everyone else out of our leagues, so that's kind of cool. Amir, that's a very interesting question. Of course, I have to be honest, I have very little experience in these kind of things. The thing is that if you want to work in Finland in a Finnish company in a managerial position, it is not going to be enough that you have a good educational and educational background. You have to also have experience in Europe in general. Of course, you're living in Luxembourg, so that would give you experience here. But of course, it would also depend on the company, on the different field, and the product that you would be managing, or basically the company that you would be managing. It's very difficult for me to say how hard it is to become a CEO, because again, it depends whether or not you want to become a CEO in a multinational corporation. That's going to be very difficult, to be honest, because first of all, those positions are not open every single day. The competition is very high, and yeah, that's enough said. On the other hand, if you want to lead a startup, a growth company, why not? The question is most likely going to be how hard is it going to be for you to find suitable jobs, not necessarily whether you are capable of doing the job. So what I would recommend you to do actually is to contact a few headhunting companies in Finland that are specifically specialized in managerial positions, and reach out to them. And basically some of them have some kind of a job applicant registry where you can actually fill out your information, and they will start looking for jobs for you. Having said that, I will really quickly check out a couple of links for you. If you just bear with me for a moment, I need to look into a couple of files that I have. Just a moment, everyone. Meanwhile, actually, while I'm looking up the information, just let me know from where are you actually watching the stream. So just let me know in the chat where is everyone coming from. It would be awesome to hear from where around the world everyone is streaming in. And at the same time, I'm trying to look at the different pages that I'm trying to find for you. All right, cool. So I have a couple of companies here that I would really recommend that you check out. So first of all, Amir, let me just mirror my screen. So first of all, I would reach out to Pointer Potential. It's a company. It's a rather new HR company with a couple of really experienced people behind as their founders. I would recommend. Oh, I'm sorry, Amir. You're in the U.S. You had Luxembourg in the form. My bad. So basically, Pointer Potential is a recruitment company, specifically specializing in hiring international talent into Finland. They don't hire Finnish people at all because they specifically focus on internationals. Their founders are extremely experienced in managerial positions in Europe, or hiring managerial positions. So I would really recommend that you reach out to them and have a chat with one of their founders. I actually had recorded a podcast with one of their founders, Steven Der Horst, who has C-level management experience in different multinational companies around the world before settling in Finland. So I would really recommend checking out that podcast. It's on the channel, as well as reaching out to them as well. Then the second company that I recommend you to check out is InHunt Group. InHunt is the biggest headhunting company in Finland, and they're specializing in different C-level or managerial positions. So really recommend that you reach out to them as well. Who else? By the way, if you're reaching out to any of these guys, you can just let them know that I'm sending you Oliver from Road to Finish on YouTube. And then let's see, do we have anything else? There are different headhunting companies in Finland, multiple ones, but I would say that you should start with these guys at least to get a sense of what kind of job opportunities you would have in Finland. with your background. I think that this would be the best way to start, and then you could, for example, ask for referrals for other companies when you reach out to these first. Hey Alex, what's up? Welcome to the stream as well. Also, hey, awesome man, awesome to have you here, man. Hopefully you're doing fine. Congratulations on the new apartment. Hopefully you're enjoying your life in Espoo. That's actually quite fun, quite awesome. Anyway, sorry, long answer to the first previous question, so I'll just move on for now. And the next question actually comes from Sue from China. And Sue is applying to study a bachelor's in healthcare in Finland in the next application period. And her question is, hi Oliver, glad to see you again. The same to you as well. Thanks for your help. Here I have a question about the Open Path program. Is this program available for overseas foreigners? And can we basically do it online? Or is it just for people who have been in Finland? Because it seems that most of these programs are just available for people who are in Finland. Yeah, that's a really good question. So what Sue is referring to is that there's a path to universities in Finland called the Open Path, avoin polku, avoin yliopistopolku basically. What it's referring to is that if you apply to a university in Finland, you can basically do open university studies. So basically university studies that are open to everyone. And when you do them enough with a high enough GPA, you can actually get automatically admitted to a Finnish university. The thing is that I don't actually remember if this is open for everyone. Let me just really quickly check. Just a moment. Actually, Alex, if you happen to remember whether or not avoin väylä is open for international students, that would be nice. I would say, yeah, I have to say that I don't remember. What I recommend you to do is to simply go to studyfinland.fi. I'm sorry, studyinfo.fi. So to this website and try to find the information about the open path from this website. I would need to dig in a bit more to give you a more concrete answer here, and I will not do it here live because it's going to take a while. My answer to you is I don't remember. Great question. I will look this up before next week. So if you want to give you an answer, then come back next week, and I will definitely know the answer to the question. Yeah, Alex is saying as well. To be honest, I don't know. Yeah, that's a really good point. It's something I've never thought about. I would need to look into it. Jumping ahead, the next question comes from Marvin Martinez. Marvin comes from Bolivia, and Marvin is still in high school, but is interested in doing a bachelor's in physics in the University of Helsinki, in the University of Helsinki or Tampere. And the question is, can academic activities outside of high school, such as awards in contests related to your field, help you in your application? Good question. Depends on the program that you're applying to would be my generalized answer. I would say that the general rule of thumb is that most bachelor's degree applications do not require you to submit a CV, which means that they most likely will not focus on your extracurricular activities. However, at the same time, many programs do require you to write some kind of a motivation letter. And in this in the motivation letters, you could then emphasize your activities in, for example, these kind of contexts or academic circles or activities. However, the thing here is you have to remember, Marvin, is that the application requirements depend on each university or each separate university and each of their separate programs. So for example, if you want to study physics, that program in the University of Helsinki is going to have different requirements than the physics program at the University of Tampere. And this means that what kind of things do they actually emphasize and what kind of things they actually look at in regards to your application depends on the school. So this is why I would again need to go into the university websites and look more details, look into the topic in more detail. So unfortunately, I'm not able to give you an answer here. Amandeep, please be patient. Amandeep saying, I have sent a question a few times in the form, but couldn't get any answer. Please be patient. There have been people sending their questions before you. You have to remember that I'm answering all the questions in a first come, first serve basis, meaning the faster you are, the earlier you're going to be answered. So keep this in mind. I'm going through the questions. Sending the question multiple times will not help because I'm basically going through them row by row in an Excel. So just be patient. I will get to your question. You just have to wait until I've done with the previous ones. This is why I tell everyone at the beginning of the stream to post their questions right away. So if it takes you a while, then it will also take a while for me to get to your questions. So please be patient. The next question comes from Levon from Finland. And Levon is still in high school, but is interested in doing a bachelor's in data sciences / electrical engineering at Alta University. And the question is, what kind of possibilities does Alta offer to study abroad in, for example, Germany? Levon, that's actually a really good question. Basically, the answer to your question is exchange studies. So I actually did my exchange studies in Munich, in Germany, in 2016. And Alexi can most likely talk about this in the chat as well. So as a part of your bachelor's as well as your master's programs, you can actually do an exchange study period abroad in multiple different countries, or you can select the country where you want to do it. And the exchange period depends on the school, but they're normally from 5 to 6 months. So if you get admitted into Alta, this is basically the best way for you to study abroad. The other way for you to study abroad is that if you actually study in a specific degree program that has, as part of it, studies abroad as well. For example, when you study in the School of Business, there is a program called CEMS, which is structured so that you spend some of the studies in Finland and then some of the studies abroad. So depends on the school, depends on the program, but exchange studies are the most common ways of spending time abroad while being admitted to a Finnish university. So that's the thing. Alexi, with a super chat, €5 super chat. Oliver, when are you coming to test drive our new sauna and talk business while having a few long drinks? I would love to come as soon as possible. I just need to wait for a couple of my closest family members to get vaccinated. And after that, I will have the courage to move around. Currently, I'm not actually seeing anyone because we do have a couple of people in my closest circles who belong into the risk categories. But after those, I would be glad to come and test out saunas in Espoo and answer the question, is sauna experience in Espoo different than it is in Helsinki? No one knows yet, I guess. But yeah, thanks, man. That's much appreciated. I will definitely let you know when I'm free to come to visit. Alexi also saying, I did my exchange period in Japan for a year. Oh, that's actually cool. Best year of my life. Yeah, exchange studies are usually not fully focused on your studies, but actually it's a way for you to travel and have fun and, get to know other cultures. So, I would select the country based on your travel interests. A lot of people want to go to Australia, New Zealand, to the US. So, take this into account. All right. The next question comes from Sabur, who comes from Pakistan again. And Sabur was admitted to Alta University, study a master's in chemistry. And the question is, what is oily service? Let's see. That's a really good question. I don't remember. All right. So what? Yeah. So what Sabor is referring to is the so-called oily service, which is basically hello. Anytime now. No. Uh, Oily is a enrollment and registration service for students. If you are a new student, you can enroll at your higher education institution using the Oily service after you have accepted the study place in studyinfo.fi service. So that's a short explanation of what is Oily. Oily is the service that you use to actually register, enroll to your university after you have accepted your study place at Study Info. So yeah, that's the short question, short answer. You have to take into account that I've never used Oily myself because I'm a Finnish national. We don't use it, so take this into account. Mohammed asking which of the vaccines is given in Finland. I actually don't remember. I actually don't care, to be honest. I'm going to take the vaccine which is given. The Finnish medical services and basically the Finnish Institute of Health and Welfare is basically distributing all the different vaccination protocols. So all the vaccines in Finland are safe, and if there's any vaccines that have experienced any issues, that's going to be taken into account. Don't remember what the vaccines are. Don't personally care. I just want everyone to get vaccinated so that we can get back to normal as soon as possible. Interesting question again, though. Let's see. Then the next question comes from Levon again, who's from Finland, interested in doing a bachelor's at Alta in data sciences or electrical engineering. And the question is, what is the startup culture in Alta like? Do business and engineering schools collaborate? What resources are available? Yeah, that's a really interesting question. The startup culture at Alta University is absolutely freaking awesome. I've taken part in so many different activities, so many different events, so many different workshops. And we have a technology startup that we're working on right now, me and 4 other people. And we actually we have an angel investor on board, so things are looking very nice. And things actually started at Alta University, at one of the Alta University startup centers. So I think that's kind of answers your question. The startup culture in Alta is absolutely freaking awesome. The cool thing is kind of referring to your question about do business and engineering and business schools / students collaborate. Yes, that's actually one of the best things about Alta University, because you have business students, engineering students, and students of arts and design all coming together, collaborating, bringing, building really cool things, different new companies. There's huge events. There's huge startup events, different hackathons. There's different, get-togethers. There are actually accelerators. So there are startup centers at Alta University, multiple ones, where you can actually get your work on your startup. And there are so many different resources available as a student. You can use, for example, the different university premises in order to work on your startup, at least at the first stage. So that is really, really cool. So for example, 3D printing, machining, if you do any work on textiles, they have huge textile labs, etc. So I would say that if you're an entrepreneurial mind person and you want to work on your own company, Alta University is definitely the school to choose. By the way, I don't know if anyone noticed, I got my hair cut. Finally. 3.5 months of not cutting my hair. It was already looking quite awful. So short hair, finally, I'm free. I'm free to do, live my life without the hair. It was awful. Anyway, getting back to business. The next question comes from Fa, who comes from Thailand. And Fa is starting school this semester at the University of Helsinki doing a master's in data sciences. Awesome. That is absolutely awesome. The question is, do you have any advice getting furniture to an empty apartment? For example, I have seen good deals on second-hand Facebook groups, but I don't know how to transfer them to my apartment. Thanks in advance. There you go. Good question. Great question, actually. There are multiple different ways that you can get furniture to your empty apartments, or second-hand furniture specifically. Let's see. The first actual store that I would recommend that you check out is called Kierrätyskeskus, or literal translation is recycling center. So kierrätyskeskus.fi/in and you can then turn the page briefly into English. Unfortunately, the entire website is not yet in English, but you can use, for example, Google Translate to auto-translate the entire page. So Kierrätyskeskus is basically the biggest second-hand store for bicycles, books, furniture, whatnot, everything you can think about. And I would really, really recommend that you actually look into their selection in terms of different furniture, for example, tables, beds, etc. And when you actually, in addition, of course, the different Facebook groups that you mentioned are great. And by the way, this applies to everyone. For example, if you live in a student, or if you get a student apartment, for example, from HOAS or TOAS or AYY or many of the other student apartment providers, many of these student apartment providers actually have their own Facebook page for the apartments or for the buildings. And in those Facebook groups, people actually recycle furniture, because some people move out, some people move in. Many times people actually give stuff away for free as long as you just take care of bringing them to your apartment so that they don't have to take care of them. Because in Finland, if you, for example, want to recycle your bed, you either have to bring them to a recycling center, and you need to, for example, get a van, and it's quite a hassle. So it's the best way to get rid of them is to basically find someone else who wants to get them from your hands. In terms of how to get the furniture from your apartment, from the person you buy them from to your apartment, there are a couple of ways to do this. The first service that I really recommend is called Paku Ovelle. Again, the problem here is that this is only in Finnish. Use Google Translate to auto-translate the page so that you can actually reserve a van. Alternatively, go here to yhteystiedot, which means contact information in English, and then call them directly to this number, and you can then reserve a van. So this is basically a van reservation service, and I've used this multiple times when I move. It's actually quite cheap, and they have you can actually pick up their vans without ever seeing anyone from them. They are operated remotely through your mobile phone, and it's actually quite cheap if compared to many other services. The second service that I would recommend is called Paku Kympillä, which is a literal translation is a van for 10 euros. So renting a van is cheap now. Helsinki, Espoo, Vantaa, 10 euros per hour, etc. So that's one that I would also recommend. Then the third one would be, I think there's a third van service specifically for students, but I actually don't remember the name. Doesn't matter. These are really, really good. Alexia is actually giving a couple of really interesting points, which I do agree on. So first of all, if you want to buy good price quality ratio furniture, Sotka is a decent option. Bought there twice recently. Good point. IKEA works really well as well, considerably cheaper than many other stores. Then Alex is saying, if you want, be careful with secondhand option beds and stuff. Some of them might have bugs, which will be a nightmare. That is true as well. Of course, always be careful, but if you're able to get something really, really good, you could, for example, just buy the bed frame and then buy, secondhand, and then buy the, what is this called? The mattress separately. It's going to be cheaper anyways. Cool. All right. The next question comes from Amandep Singh. And Amandep comes from India, starting school this semester at Karelia, the KAMK University of Applied Sciences, doing a bachelor's in international business. And the question is, I want to know which one is the best city for part-time jobs with my studies in international business. I have a few options. So that's KAMK or YAMK. So KAMK is in. KAMK has their campus in Kajaani, and YAMK has their campus in Juvascular, I think, or is it in Joensuu? Juvascular. And then the third one is Karelia, so in Joensuu. That's a really good question. I don't know the answer. Simply, I've never lived in Joensuu, Kajaani, or in Juvascular. My brother studied in Joensuu. He studied biology there, and he actually had to come to work in Helsinki. However, that's biology. It's a bit of a different thing compared to international business. There's always different business jobs everywhere in any major city. The question is, are you able to find them? That's a different question altogether. I would say that Joensuu and Juvascular are both excellent options. Joensuu is a really nice city as well. At least I don't have any experience in Juvascular or Kajaani myself. Alex, if you have any opinions on this, then just let me know, or let Aman Debs know. But I would say that Joensuu or Juvascular, both good cities. But you have to take into account that part-time jobs are hard to find as a student anyways, so most likely the city doesn't really matter in this case. All right. The next question comes from Tamara Werasoria, who comes from Sri Lanka, and I hope that I pronounced your name at least somewhat correctly. And Tamara is applying for a bachelor's in tourism and hospitality management. And the question is, what is the best university for tourism and hospitality management in Finland? Good question. I don't remember, or I don't actually know. Let's see. I think that there were a couple of options. Oops, excuse me. You have to consider that I have not studied tourism and hospitality management myself. So everything that I say is going to be based on my, the things that I've read on, for example, university websites or school websites. But for example, a couple of schools that you could apply to is YAMK, you have SAMK, you have Lapland University of Applied Sciences, you have Haaga-Helia, you have LAB, University of Applied Sciences. All great schools. I would say that, for example, Haaga-Helia and then LAB, University of Applied Sciences, they're both really, really good schools. Highly recommended. The Lapland University of Applied Sciences is also really, really nice. Well, YAMK and SAMK both are. Apply to all of them. There's nothing stopping you from applying to all of the schools. So that's Haaga-Helia, LAB, YAMK, which is JAMK, MK, SAMK, which is SAMK, and then Lapland UAS, University of Applied Sciences. I would recommend all of them. Good schools, every single one of them. I would say that it's more of a preference on the city than the school itself. Haaga-Helia is in Helsinki, which is really cool. So maybe I'd recommend that, I guess. Jet Gotti saying in the chat, Juvascular is a good city to live. A couple of my Instagram friends recommended it to me. Yeah, Juvascular is a really, really cool city, I'm sure. Again, I have no prior personal experience, so it's hard for me to say. Yeah, that's basically what I can say about this topic. The next question comes from Piyush M, who comes from India. And Piyush is starting school this semester, doing a master's in data sciences, which is awesome. And the question is, are universities in Finland, Alta University in specific, going to conduct offline education starting in August? Yeah, so I actually talked about this very shortly, maybe half an hour ago. The intention is to, yes, start offline education or studies starting in August, September, but not 100%. So I think that Alta University at least sent us an email about this like a week ago. And if I remember correctly, don't hold my word to it. If I remember correctly, they said that the intention is to plan for offline education starting in September, actually. That's when the academic year starts for universities. However, it's not going to be 100%, but it's rather going to increase in steps or increments. So no, we're not going to have 3,500 people at the campus at the same time on September 1st. Rather, we're going to look at the situation every single day and every single week and month and go from there. But yeah, we are trying to get back to normal in this case, if that answers your question. All right. The next question comes from Sabur, again from Pakistan. And the question is the method for enrolling as an attending student any different for international students and EU or EEA students? No, it's the exact same system. You might have to fill out different information. However, the enrollment itself is the same. There. The next question comes from Maria from Poland. Awesome to have you here as well. Welcome. And Maria is interested in, starting school this semester, doing a degree in biomedical sciences. And the question is, I got admitted to University of Turku, and it turns out that student housing available in Turku offers non-furnished apartments, which really surprised me. I wanted to ask whether non-furnished apartments are popular practice in Finland, and if you have any recommendations on where to buy affordable furniture after arriving. IKEA, or maybe are there any other good places for shopping? Yeah, Maria, that's a very good question. The thing, first of all, congratulations on being admitted to the University of Turku. It's an excellent school. Plus, Turku is a beautiful city. I really like it. I've been there multiple times, just for holiday. It's a very old city, and it's just beautiful. Seaside, love it. So yeah, IKEA is a good place if you want to do things the easy way. It's of course a bit more expensive than buying secondhand. The thing is that I don't have any information on any secondhand stores specifically in Turku. However, what I would recommend you to do simply is to go to Google. I know this is going to be a very revolutionized answer, but so basically Turku second-hand furniture. There you go. It's a recommendation, and then you could, for example, see the different links that you have here. For example, Turku's best secondhand shops, buy, donate, recycle, etc. Just check out the different links that they have here. I'm sure that there are secondhand stores, both for clothing, furniture, everything that you need in Turku. It's a big city. However, I don't know any of the local shops there, unfortunately, so you would need to do a bit of research on your own. I think that would be a good way to start, at least. But IKEA works perfectly well if you have the money to buy all the furniture firsthand. IKEA is pretty cheap, to be honest. Let's see. Eric with a 70, I think that's South African Rand super chat for beer money. Cheers. That's highly appreciated. Thank you so much. Not beer. This is actually this holiday drink that we drink during the 1st of May called Sima. Don't know what the name is in English, but it's not alcohol. But thank you very much. That's highly appreciated, Eric. Thanks so much. Actually, that comes as with the perfect timing, because again, all the restaurants have opened again, and it's basically the beginning of summer right now. It's the weather. It has been absolutely beautiful. It's really warm. In the evenings, it's still quite cold, maybe 1 to 3 degrees Celsius in the evenings. However, during the day, it's 10-15 degrees Celsius. Quite heavy wind, but it's just beautiful and perfect weather to sit around, having a beer. The first beer of the summer and the first beer outside at a restaurant in over a year. So thank you very much. That's appreciated. Appreciated. I need to learn how to speak. Anyway, the next question comes from Mostakin Sheikh, who comes from Bangladesh, and Mostakin has not yet decided whether or not he wants to study in Finland, but is interested in doing a bachelor's in photography, filmmaking, and media. And the question actually is, where can I find photography, filmmaking, or media subjects in Finland? Good question. That's a very interesting question. I am actually not quite sure. Learning photography, that is not going to be a university level subject. Filmmaking, let's see. So filmmaking is not going to be a university level degree either. There are master's programs in film and television. So for example, Alta University has a master's degree in film and television, so film directing. Let's see, which basically the objective is to strengthen the student's capacity to generate and develop cinematic ideas, story building, and narration skills, in addition to developing the director's personal cinematic style and directional identity. So this is one option, but if you're looking for a bachelor's degree, this is not right for you. I would say that you actually, unfortunately, I don't have the answer here. I would recommend that you simply Google photography bachelor's Finland, or filmmaking bachelor's Finland, or media bachelor's Finland, and you can start from there. This is a completely new area for me, so unfortunately I don't have an answer here. I do apologize that I'm not able to help you anyway you with this topic anymore. The next question comes from Aman from India, and Aman is starting school this semester, doing a bachelor's in international business. And the question is, I want to know which one is the best city for part-time jobs with my studies in international business. Never mind, I actually got that already. The next question comes from Matteo Buleri. Sorry, I'm not trying to tease you, but Matteo Buleri. Close enough. Matteo from Italy. And Matteo is starting school this semester at LUT University. Nice, it's a really good school. And Matteo is going to do a master's in international business and entrepreneurship. And let's see, the question, hi, this is the second time I ask something. Awesome. Welcome back, man. That's awesome to have you here. Little disclaimer, I am getting my bachelor's degree in Italy, and here it's extremely rare being asked to write essays in the context of exams and or intermediate evaluations. Interesting, super interesting. The question is, given my relatively poor essay writing skills, is it going to be a problem in Finland? If yes, could you please suggest some sources I could use to learn how to write them? The more general question is, to what extent written essays are used as an evaluation method in Finland? Great question, and I would say that, especially considering your degree subject, international business and entrepreneurship, essays are most likely going to be a very heavily emphasized subject for you. Plus, you have to take into account, Matteo, is that you will have to write your master's thesis, which is basically a 60 to 80 page long essay, academic essay. So if you're not really good at writing essays or writing in general, which was me a few years ago, I've had to learn it through my studies as well as through my work. I would really start practicing, and I would really spend a lot of time on trying to learn good writing skills, good persuasive writing. And once again, I refer you to, let's see. I refer you to Ali Abdal from YouTube. Again, Ali is excellent in personal development, education, study techniques, etc. And for example, he has multiple super interesting videos about essay writing, how to come up with interesting essay subjects, how to structurize your essays, and how to actually start breaking them down. Writing essays is something that I'm still not really good at. I have improved drastically over the years, but it's not something that I was good at before, and it was actually not something that I enjoyed in high school. So I would say that simply try to look for different resources in addition to Ali Abdal on YouTube, and start practicing. And you don't necessarily have to start practicing, on your own. schoolwork is going to be just fine. But you have to, of course, remember that if you really suck at writing essays, your first essay / your first, excuse me, the first essays that are going to be evaluated might not be that good. So you have to balance it out. But yeah, it's really common for essays to be used in business school in Finland as a very important part of the evaluation. So definitely something that you should look into. By the way, Matteo saying that the pronunciation was very close. So Matteo Buleri. I'm sorry, I'm just teasing you. Matteo Buleri. I think the double L is very really quick. Matteo Buleri. No, never mind. Sorry, I'm just messing with you. I've never learned Italian. I used to speak a bit of Spanish. Not that close. But I used to have a couple of Italian friends, and I developed my ear for Italian a bit because of them. So I'm not sure how close this is. Why am I telling you guys this? Doesn't matter. Next question. Next question comes from Amir again. And Amir is interested in doing a PhD at Alta University in software engineering. And the question is, are there good startup programs in Finland for graduates? Yeah, there are. That's a really interesting question. So I would say that there are a huge amount of different startup programs and different accelerators. There are, for example, different government grants that you can apply for your own company. We're actually applying for a government grant in order for us to apply for a patent, which is really cool. However, they are not exclusively for graduates. So for example, when I spoke about Alta University startup ecosystem, that ecosystem doesn't only apply to students. It's mostly, used by students because, it's on the same campus. However, you often see people who have already graduated years ago partaking in those different activities because they know how high value the programs are. So definitely, yeah. In addition, the Finnish startup system or startup ecosystem and the startup culture in Finland is growing really rapidly. And actually, the Helsinki metropolitan startup ecosystem and the culture is actually being said to be kind of the Silicon Valley of Europe. Because it's growing so heavily, especially in the technology sector. So there are a lot of different really interesting accelerator programs, startup centers in Helsinki, where I think that you would actually do really well. And actually, Amir, one more recommendation for you that I recommend, in addition to the two headhunting companies, is thehub.io. So thehub.io is actually a free webpage for different startups where they can actually post job ads. Actually, let's see. It's better maybe this because I'm logged in with our company. So you can actually browse the different startups and browse different jobs on the site, and you can actually find really interesting opportunities from here, starting from trainee positions all the way up to C-level positions in different growth companies. The one thing that you need to take into account here is that many of the startups here are early stage, or at least some of them. And this means that some of the companies also do not have the ability to pay you salary. Rather, they would give you equity to the company. So just take this into account and make sure to go through the job ads very carefully before contacting any of the companies. Do take into account that all the companies that register to this website go through a very strict filter. So this is 100% legit, and it's actually managed by the startup center and by Danske Bank, which is a big Nordic bank. It's managed by them, so the website is 100% legit, and you can trust it. But just keep in mind that many startups do not have the ability to pay salary, but rather they would maybe offer you a piece of the company. So yeah. Yes, Shruyit, I'm reading the questions from the Google form. So yeah, good question. If anyone and everyone or one of you have just joined the stream, or if this is the first time that you are visiting these live streams, welcome. My name is Oliver, and during the streams we talk about living, studying, and working in Finland, and I basically answer all of your most burning questions about these topics. And if you want your question answered live, please post your question into the Google form that I have linked in the description box below. The reason why I prefer you posting your questions to the Google form is because the live chat gets really busy, and I have the mic, I have the computer, I have the camera, I have the chat. There's a lot going on here, and I'm not able to keep an eye out on the chat at the same time while I'm talking. So if you post your question into the live chat, it is highly likely that I'm going to miss it and not being able to answer it. So this is why I have the Google form set up so that you can post your question there. In that case, I will have all the questions here in front of me on the computer, which is just below the camera, and I will be able to go through them one by one in a first come, first served basis. So yeah, I'm answering the questions from the form right now. Talking of which, the next question comes from Sabur once again. And the question is, I have applied to both HOAS and AYY apartments 5 months prior to the start of my studies. If due to travel restrictions, I wasn't able to reach Finland in time, would I still be liable to pay rent without even living, just to hold on to my apartment? So yeah, if you want to hold on to your apartment, you would need to pay the rent. However, you have to take into account that HOAS and AYY both have systems in place because of Kovit. So if you have any kind of a hint that you are not able to travel to Finland, please immediately be in contact with HOAS and AY, either one of them, basically the one that offered you an apartment, and tell them about your situation, and they will help you deal with the situation. So I know that, for example, HOAS has a system in place so that you will not either miss out on the apartment or have to pay for nothing. So yeah, great question. Again, this applies to everyone regardless of the student apartment provider. The next question comes also from Amir, and the question is it right that Finland doesn't give as much value to computer science related jobs as they give to teaching jobs? Absolutely untrue. This is actually teaching jobs and computer science jobs are not even comparable to each other. They're in completely different worlds. Teachers in Finland are extremely highly regarded because they are such an important part of our society. Finland is a country of education. We have the best education system in the world. Humble brag, statistically speaking, yes. And we are extremely proud of our education system. Hence, we are also extremely proud and protective of our teachers as well. They go into huge lengths into becoming teachers. Again, as I mentioned before, if you want to be a teacher in Finland, you need to have a master's degree in education in order to teach kids in the country. So we keep our teachers in extremely high regard here, and we respect them a lot. However, they're not even comparable to computer sciences because they're completely two completely different things. So I would not even think about them on the same in the same question. Amir, the current situation in Finland is that 2 years ago, when I used to work in recruitment in a recruitment company, there were reports that we had a deficit of 20,000 talented software developers that could have all been hired right at that point. That was 2 years ago. And the demand has increased by the thousands each year. And there are estimates saying that by 2025, we're going to have a deficit of 50,000 software developers in Finland. Disclaimer, even though the deficit is high, you still have to know what you're doing. You still need to know what you're doing. So if you are in really early stages of your studies, this isn't for you, of course, because you have more than enough experience and education. However, you still need to know what you're doing in order to get a job, because companies are more willing to hire experienced people or highly educated people. So yeah, software engineers in Finland are extremely highly regarded because we need them so heavily. And again, Finland is a country of teachers and the country of engineers. Finland has basically been built by engineers. Think about Nokia, for example, Nokia phones at a time. Nowadays, it's Nokia cell services mostly, or cell services 5G that they do, and then they have many other R&D sections. But yeah, Finland has been built by engineers. We love engineers. If you look at the management teams of most publicly traded companies in Finland, most of them have engineers as their CEOs or at least CTOs. So that's something to keep in mind. Great question. by the way. The next question comes from Animane. I'm sorry, Aumane El Barbadoui, who comes from Morocco and is starting school this semester, studying a bachelor's in Seinäjoki University of Applied Sciences. Nice. And the question is, I got accepted to Seinäjoki University of Applied Sciences, but I find it hard to find a room in the campus. I looked it up and I found that Sevas is the organization that can help students in Seinäjoki, but is there any other way to register for campus there? Because I contacted Sevas and I still got no email from them. First of all, Aumane, congratulations on being admitted to SEAMK. That's absolutely awesome. I'm sure that you are going to enjoy yourself in Seinäjoki. It's a really cool city. Then to your question, you have to consider that in Finland, universities and universities of applied sciences, so together schools do not have any student apartments. In Finland, I repeat myself, in Finland, schools, the universities do not offer any kind of dorms to any students. They simply don't own any student apartments. All student apartments in Finland are offered by third-party services or providers. Most of them are non-profit organizations like, for example, HOAS, or different student unions. In your case, that would be then Sevas. I don't know what this abbreviation is from. However, what I would recommend you to keep in mind is that these student apartment providers are extremely busy right now, and they are getting emails by the hundreds each day, because everyone is looking for an apartment right now. So if you have already applied, if you have already filled an application with them, please be patient. There is no need for you to send an email to them because they will not be able to reply to you on time. Rather, just be patient and wait patiently. They will get back to you when they have an apartment available. Having said this, if at the end of July you have not received any kind of an answer from Sevas, then that would be a time to start looking for an alternative solution. About Seinäjoki, I don't know what other alternatives there are for student apartments. So I would simply recommend that you Google Seinäjoki student apartments and look for different opportunities there. If it is the case that there are no other student apartment providers in Seinäjoki except Sevas, then you would need to start looking from the private market as well. But this applies to everyone. Please be patient with the student apartments. You're not going to get a reply during the first month at least. It's going to take multiple months most likely for you to get an answer from the student apartment providers, because they're getting so many requests and applications at this time. There. Simon Richardson. I need a drink. Asking an interesting question in the chat. Are there jobs available in digital marketing in Finland? I don't know. What am I doing? I think I might be doing digital marketing or content creation. What do you want to call this? I actually used to work as a digital marketer before I started working on YouTube full time. Yes, there are a lot of opportunities for digital marketers in Finland. Everywhere. Digital marketing is a super important tool for businesses. Yes, there are. You need to be really good at what you do, but yes, there are a lot of opportunities. Then the next question from the form. Again, if you guys want me to answer your questions live, please post your question into the Google form, which is linked in the description box below. If you post your question into the live chat, I'm highly likely going to miss your question and not answer it. By the way, thanks Eric for reminding everyone in the chat. The next question comes from Aman from India, and again, Aman is starting school this semester, doing a bachelor's in international business. And the question is, I'm a non-European Union citizen, and I don't have any funds in my account in order to get a residence permit. And how can I justify my new funds, which are a few days older? Okay, I'm sorry. I'm a non-European Union student, actually, and I don't have any old funds in my account. to apply for a residence permit. How can I justify my new funds, which are a few days older? That's an interesting question. I have no idea. What I would recommend to you to do is to contact the Finnish Immigration Service and ask them what kind of information they need about the funds that you have received. Most likely, if the funds, for example, come from your parents, they will need to get a job, a copy of your parents' job agreement, as well as the latest pay slips, for example, so that you can prove that the funds are coming from a legal source. That's basically what they want to know. So they simply want to know the source of the money, so that they know that everything is good and nice and clean. But yeah, contact the Finnish Immigration Service. This is a very specific question, so it's really difficult for me to say. All right, the next question comes from Mostakin, again Mostakin Sheikh, and again who comes from Bangladesh and is interested in a bachelor's in photography, filmmaking, and media. And actually, never mind, that was the same question than previously, so skip that. And then we have the next question comes from Sabor again. Thanks for all the really great questions, by the way. And the question is course selection affected oh, right. So will the different selection of courses affected if the studies are conducted online? As I am a chemistry student working on campus in laboratories, this might be a problem. Great question. I actually don't know how they have done all the different laboratory courses during 2020. But my understanding is that if there's going to be offline education or face-to-face education, and it's done, step by step, most likely the universities are going to start with those courses that require physical attendance in for example, a laboratory. So again, we're going back. We're currently going back to normal or towards normal. So some universities are expecting to go back to normal face-to-face education during the next academic year. So in this case, you would not have a problem. So bear that in mind. All right. The next question comes from Vijay, who comes from India. And Vijay is applying to YUMK, University of Applied Sciences, to do a business management degree. Cool. And there's a couple of questions here, and the first one is actually, just a moment. All right, so actually, if Vijay, if you could please elaborate a bit more on the first question. So I have a 50%, I've done 50% in my bachelor's in IT, and I applied in a PG diploma in business management. So my question is, can I study a master's in IT after this course? You would need to give me a bit more information on what kind of a course this is, in which school, and how long of a degree it is for me to answer this question. With this information, unfortunately, I cannot give you an answer to the question. So if you would like to elaborate a bit more, for example, in the chat, I can try to keep the chat on an eye out for the chat to answer your specific question. So again, give me a bit more information for the first question. The second question, would you like to recommend any places to live after arriving there near the YUMK, University of Applied Sciences, or in Juvascular city? Again, I don't have any personal experience from Juvascular. However, the easiest way for you to figure out where to live in after you have arrived here and while studying is Googling Juvascular student apartments and looking at the first link here, student housing. And there you can actually see that the Kortepohja Student Village is one. Then we have Central Finland Student Housing Foundation, or KOAS. And then we have the University of Juvascular Student Union offers apartments for the university students. However, so KOAS and then Kortepohja Student Village are the two best options for student housing in the Juvascular region. Fisher Silver with a €5 super chat. Thank you so much, man. That is highly appreciated. Fisher saying, for your patience and dedication and for La Torrefazione Espresso Fund. This is becoming a running joke now. I should really think about what I say here a bit more so that not everything becomes a joke. But thanks so much. That's highly appreciated. I will definitely put that into the La Torrefazione Espresso Fund. Thank you. Highly appreciated, Fisher. Thanks so much. Cool. The next question comes from Thomas from Thomas from Argentina. Thomas from Argentina, and Thomas is applying to Juvascular to do a bachelor's in management. Nice. And the question is, what about living and studying there? Again, Thomas, this is a very difficult question for me to answer because I have no prior personal experience about Juvascular itself. You have to remember that Finland is quite big of a country. Geographically speaking, Finland is actually almost the same exact size as Germany. However, we don't have as many people living here. Quite many tens of millions of people less. However, I've never been to Juvascular myself for a longer period of time, so it's very hard for me to say. However, what I've heard about Juvascular and the universities there is that the university life there is really, really cool. That's basically everything. Then again, if you think about living in Juvascular, actual student apartments, please refer to the question that I answered just before you. So 2 minutes ago, I showed the best student apartment providers in the Juvascular region. So I would really recommend that you apply for an apartment from them. All right. Before I jump to the next question, I have to take a super quick break, just get a glass of drink, a quick drink, because I'm struggling to talk because my mouth is getting dry. Meanwhile, it would actually be really, really cool if you guys would like to tell me in the chat. Just let me know in the chat what kind of a degree you're actually applying for. Bachelor's, master's, or PhD. Just write master's, PhD, or bachelor's in the chat so we can see what kind of people we actually have here live today. And I will have that drink meanwhile. All right. Talking for 2 hours straight is not easy for your mouth. Cool. All right. The next question comes from Levon. Again, Levon from Finland. And Levon asks a really funny question. Which schools at Alta University throw the best parties? That's a very funny question. And actually, I have to kind of reformulate the question here. The schools themselves actually don't throw any kind of parties. Alta University in itself, the university as a whole, does throw a really awesome academic year starting party in September. However, the schools themselves don't organize any kind of events or parties except career events. So all the different parties are organized by different student organizations that operate under Alta University, or not under because they're independent organizations. So what we have in Finland is basically we have at the top we have student unions. So we have one student union per university by law. At Alta University, that's Alta University Student Union. Under that student union, we have student organizations for different schools, basically. Some of them depends a bit on the school, what kind of student organizations you have, but basically student union. And then you have, for example, at Alta University, you have the Alta University Business Students, which is one student organization. It used to be a business student union before Alta University was created by combining different universities. Then you have the different student organizations for different engineering schools. They are called guilds or kilta in Finnish. And then you have, for example, a student organization for the School of Arts and Design. Under those organizations, you then have different subject clubs, sports clubs, hundreds of different clubs and smaller organizations that then organize their own different parties, events, etc. So there are basically, just within Alta University, there's probably 150 different entities organizing different kind of parties and events. So it's a lot of fun. You can spend all of your studies just partying if you want. Not recommended, but during the first year especially, it's a lot of fun because it's a very new experience, especially for international students. Funny question. So we have a couple of answers here. So we have masters, bachelors, and then bachelors. Awesome. And then we had a couple of PhDs, and then we have had more masters during the questions. Cool. All right. Then the next question actually also comes from Levon, and the question is, do you have any future plans about interview videos? The last one was really interesting. Yeah, I actually have multiple videos in the pipeline, but I simply haven't edited them. And then I have a couple of interviews coming up, which are really, really interesting, but it just takes quite a lot of time to edit them and then put them into the upload schedule because I have other videos as well. But definitely cool to hear that they were actually interesting. The next question comes from Krishtam Shroit, who comes from India, and Krishtam is has not yet decided whether or not he wants to study in Finland, but is interested in good schools. Interested in a bachelor's in accounting. And the question is, I need help in finding good universities for accounting in Finland that are feasible and have proper education. All right, so Krishtam, any university, or I'm sorry, any school in Finland that teaches accounting is a feasible school, and they all have proper education. You have to consider that Finland has a public university system, and the universities in Finland are universities of applied sciences in Finland are well funded, and they have all really, really high level education. Having said this, you have to take into account that in Finland we have two different kind of universities, or higher education institutions. We have universities which teach basically research-based education. So universities do bachelor's, master's, and PhD studies, and then we have universities of applied sciences, which are more practical, and usually you graduate from a University of Applied Sciences directly into a specific role or job, for example, into accounting. So if you want to become and when you study in a University of Applied Sciences, you usually only do a bachelor's degree. So accounting, if you want to become an accountant, then you should go apply for a University of Applied Sciences, not into a university. Because if you graduate from a university and you become an accountant, something has gone horribly wrong. If you study accounting at a university level, you will not become an accountant. You will most likely become a management consultant. You will become a auditor. You will work in securities or whatever. So if you want to, again, do accounting work, you should apply for a University of Applied Sciences. Let's see. For example, Metropolia is a proper good school for accounting, so I would recommend that you start there. So for example, let's see. Management. Business administration, for example, at Metropolia, recommend that you check this out. Should be fine, and then start from there. There are multiple different schools where you can apply to doing accounting. There are a bunch. It will take me quite a while to actually list them out if I actually were to answer your question. All right, let's see. Legend Steven, yes, I'm watching the chat every now and then. I'm not focusing on the chat. If you have a question that you would like me to answer live, please post your question into the Google form that I have linked in the description box below. I read all the questions from there because it's easier for me to manage the questions. Talking of which, the next question comes from Nicholas from Malta. Nicholas is starting school this semester at the University of Helsinki doing masters in biology, specifically in ecology and evolution. Nice. And the question is, hi, I wanted to ask about the job opportunities in biology around Helsinki area for foreigners and what wages to expect as I'm about to apply for a student loan to finance my studies, and they asked me for a ballpark of the job availability and wages there. Ooh, that's a difficult question. Oh, that's a very hard question for me to answer. All right, what I recommend you to do, this is not a bulletproof solution, but what I would recommend you to do is to download this app called, it's a free app on Android or iOS called Meet Frank. I've actually spoken about this previously in a couple of my videos. So what Meet Frank is, it's basically a job application app, the only proper job hunting app in Finland. But one cool thing is that they actually give you insights of the different positions, especially in higher education or, higher bachelor's and master's graduates. And you can, for example, look in Finland, look at, let's see if they have anything here. Actually, never mind. They don't have biology here, so that's a bit of a shame. So what they would have here is they usually have these graphs saying historical gross salaries and offered versus expected gross salaries. So this would have been a good tool for you, but it doesn't work because they don't yet cover every single field. This is a really difficult question for me. Depends on whether you go to academia or whether you want to work in the private sector, and the different jobs, and whether you, for example, work in a growth company, in a multinational, or a smaller, research company, for example. So it's a very difficult question for me to say. My brother has his master's in biology, and he has had some struggle at times finding jobs that pay well. So it's very, very difficult for me. Okay, what I would recommend you to do is to try Glassdoor. Go to Glassdoor and check out if they have any jobs open there, specifically in biology. If that doesn't work, the second thing is I would recommend that you contact the faculty, university faculty. So since you are coming to the University of Helsinki, just contact the university faculty there. For example, University of Helsinki, excuse me. What you could do is basically contact their career services at the University of Helsinki and ask for help from them. Do know that it might take quite a while for them to answer via email. So if you have the opportunity to call them, that might be better. So you can see the contact information right here. But yeah, otherwise it's really difficult for me to give you an answer because it depends on so many variables. And to be honest, I don't have enough experience in this field to give you a proper answer. But I hope that you can get started from here at least. The next question comes from Aumain. Aumain, is it? Do I pronounce your name correctly? Aumain, who comes from Morocco and is starting school this semester at the Seinäjoki University of Applied Sciences, doing a bachelor's in automation engineering, which is really interesting. And the question is, I got admitted to SEAMK. Congratulations, by the way. Do you have any ideas about how can I find a rental apartment in the campus? And I would like to know your thoughts about the degree of automation engineering. Thanks in advance. Once again, just Google Seinäjoki student apartment. So, excuse me. There you go. Excuse me. So Seinäjoki student apartments, again, as we spoke before, Sevas is the best student apartment provider in the Seinäjoki region. Go and check out their student apartments and apply for their apartments as soon as possible. Again, the queues might be very, very long and you might have to wait for multiple months to get a response. So apply as soon as possible, preferably today. So Sevas is the place where you should go in your case. To your question about the actual degree on automation engineering, it's a really, really, really great degree. And if you think about automation engineering, robotics, anything that has to do, with serving our machine overlords is a great career because everything is going to be roboticized and automized in the future. And for example, in our startup, we're going to need automation engineers at some point. and there's going to be a huge demand for you guys in the future. So definitely a good choice of a degree. All right, the next question comes from Mostakin again, and the question is, I want to know about journalism as well. Is there any universities who offer journalism programs? Yes, there are. I don't remember which ones. Google journalism bachelor's Finland, and you will find your answer there. There are hundreds of different, there are over 400 English taught degrees in Finland that different universities offer. There's no way for me to remember all of them and where, in which universities they are taught. So just Google journalism bachelor's Finland and you will find an answer. The next question comes from Bhavya. Bhavna, awesome to have you here as well. The first question from you this week. And as a reminder, Bhavya is from India, starting school this semester at the University of Tampere, doing a master's in computer sciences. Nice. And the question is, can you tell me about the availability and the kind of vegetarian food that is in restaurants and cafes in around and can you also give me a brief about the kind of food options that as a vegetarian or vegan I could get in Finland? You can get basically anything you want, especially in restaurants and cafes. The amount of vegetarian food is increasing all the time, and actually I would say that you can get by as a vegetarian in Finland perfectly. There's absolutely no struggle. I have multiple friends. Actually, my sister and her husband, they're vegetarians, and they're doing excellently. It's actually not even a struggle for them to find ingredients. If you want, for example, specific ingredients, there are a lot of specialized shops. However, most of your corner stores also have excellent selections for different kind of vegetarian foods. My recommendation for you is that when you go to a local store, grocery store, for the first time when you come here, just tap someone of the staff on the shoulder and ask them, hey, would you help me find these kind of products? Have, for example, a list, and they will be able to help you guide you to the correct aisle and the product. You have to remember that the different products that you might be looking for, unless they're like just vegetables, are going to be different from what you have in India. So it might take a while for you to kind of start recognizing the different products on the shelves. So ask for help. The store owners and the staff is going to be very glad to help you out. In addition, when you go to restaurants, like 99% of restaurants in Finland offer vegetarian options, but I would still, when you reserve a table at a restaurant, I would still ask about it beforehand and what kind of options they have. Because even though most restaurants have vegetarian options, the amount of different options might not be that wide. So you just want to check it out beforehand to be sure. Yeah, Amir saying that you can hire me in your startup if you want. That's a highly appreciated offer. I think that we're not suitable for you, not the other way around. We actually just hired a really talented software developer who is old school mate of my brother's, and he's a super talented developer actually working in the space industry. So he's going to start doing the software side of things, plus the embedded systems into our system. The problem with us is actually we don't have revenue coming in. We're fully operating on a investment base. So we actually are not able to pay any salaries at this point. So we actually cannot even hire anyone. So that's why we might not be a good match for you at this point. But you would, of course, I would say that you're over competent to our company at this point at least. But yeah, hey, if you want to follow the company, over the time, just I might be actually posting something about the company on the channel, because I'm going to be talking about jobs in startups, etc. And I'm going to use our company as an example once we get things rolling. So take this into account. All right, the next question comes from actually Amir from you. And the question is, are there big tech areas in Finland like Silicon Valley in the US and Cambridge and Dublin? Yeah, Helsinki is basically the big tech area in Finland. There are not that kind of centralized, districts or city areas that you would have, like Silicon Valley is a very specific area. It's not even a district, but a massive area. in a sense. Helsinki is the capital area, is basically the biggest hub of technology companies in Finland. Oulu, which is a big city in the north, is really big in tech. It's the home city of Nokia, and they have a huge amount of different spin-off companies from Nokia. Nokia actually used to fund different spin-off startups from that were started by their ex-employees in the Oulu area, and they have a huge amount of different really well doing companies there, technology companies there. Vaasa is another. Vaasa is a very big city in the west coast of Finland, and they are, for example, specialized in different battery technologies. So it was actually one of the top candidates for the Tesla battery. I think it's called the Battery Factory. I think Tesla Mega Factory or something like this, if I remember correctly. It was one of the top candidates for it because they have the minerals and they have the talent there. It's a university city. So I would say that Helsinki, Oulu, and Vaasa are definitely technology-centric cities. Absolutely. Then Helsinki, I'm talking about Helsinki metropolitan area. So the metropolitan area consists of multiple different cities. Helsinki is the capital. Then we have Espoo, which is on the west side of Helsinki. Espoo is a massive city, but there's a centralized area where we have, for example, Microsoft is there. We have Nokia used to have their headquarters there. It's nowadays Microsoft. They have multiple different technology companies there in a very small area, basically. But I count that into Helsinki because it's just a couple of kilometers away. But good question, yeah. The next question comes from Mostakin, and then Technical Booth, I will jump into your question after this one. Don't worry about it. Again, I prioritize the question in the form, so you have to be patient. I will jump into your question after this. But the question from Mostakin is, if anyone wants to settle in after studies in Finland, then which subjects will be fine for them? And if anyone wants to get a subject-related job in Finland, then which subject would be good for getting a job? Mostakin, I'm going to give you a generalized answer. I'm not going to give you any recommendations, but the reason why I never give anyone a recommendation of, hey, you should study this in order to get a good job, is simply the fact that doing what other people tell you to do simply because you can get a job easily is the incorrect way of thinking about this. I'm actually a good example of this. When I started my studies at the School of Business, after the first year we had to actually choose our major subject. So the first year we basically just study, economics 101, accounting 101, finance 101, business law 101. It's all the generalized subjects. Then in the second year we actually have to choose our major, so finance, economics, HR, management, whatever. And everyone told me that, hey, go and study accounting and business administration because it's the best way to get, have a guaranteed job, because everyone who studied that and major in accounting and business administration, all of them get jobs in management consulting, every one of them, and it's guaranteed. I thought that, okay, that's really cool. I knew that I was interested in marketing and sales because I'm a people person. I've never been that good with numbers. But I still took the advice from other people and I started studying accounting and business administration, and I hated it. I absolutely hated the subject. And this actually is where the trick comes in, because I didn't like what I studied. I didn't put any effort into it, meaning that I didn't get any good grades, meaning that I didn't learn anything, meaning that I sometimes failed my courses and I had to retake them, meaning that my studies got postponed and everything kind of fell apart. And what I did is that I ended up changing my major when after graduating as a bachelor, and I changed my major into basically management studies. And that was actually super interesting to me. And I have, for my master's, my GPA, my weighted GPA is 4.98 out of 5. So I have almost a perfect GPA for my master's studies simply because the subject was super interesting, and I was interested in studying it. I didn't put any more hours into studying my master's compared to my bachelor's, but there was a difference of being interested in the subject. This is the reason why I don't recommend anyone to take up a degree that I tell them to. Because if I tell you that, hey, if you want a job after you graduate, go study computer sciences. Sure, there are a lot of opportunities in computer sciences, but if you don't like mathematics, if you don't like computers, you're going to suck at computer sciences. And if you suck at what you do, no one is going to hire you, no matter how many jobs there are available. That's simple. The best chances you have to get a job is by being really good at what you do, no matter if it's being Indiana Jones, being a banker, or a nutritional something, nutritional therapist. There's always job opportunities in every field as long as you know what you're doing and you're really good at what you do. There. So apply to study a field, a degree that you are interested in. That is my personal recommendation. Because, and I think actually a very interesting point here, for example, for Amir. Amir has an MBA and he has a master's in computer sciences from MIT, one of the top universities in the world. But if Amir, and I'm not saying that you suck at what you do, but if you hadn't focused on what you did in school, and if you suck at what you do, no one is going to hire you, even if you have a degree from MIT. The degree doesn't matter if you don't know what you're doing. So do what you're interested in doing, because then you will become good at what you do. Alexi is saying the same thing here. Thanks again, man, for taking part in the conversation. Alex is saying, I got shit grades from subjects I couldn't care less about and top grades from courses that I found interesting. There you go. And Alexi, I think that you're not working on you're not working a job that you hate. You most likely work a job that you at least somehow are interested in, meaning you're really good at what you do. So there you go. And Amir is saying the same thing. Yeah, that's right. Indiana Jones was really, really good in archaeology. He was best at what he did. He got a job. If that's a valid example, I'm actually not sure. Sorry, ranting. Next question. And now I'm actually answering the question from Technical Booth from the chat. So I'm Technical Booth saying, I'm Vijay. I have completed blah, blah, blah. I'm sorry. Okay, so that was the first question. So, so in YAMK University of Applied Sciences, because I'm not eligible for masters in IT, because minimum percentage is 60% in bachelor's, so I want to study again in IT field after this course. So can I study after this course, or will my percentage of my IT studies will still be in effect? Right. Okay. So the question here is basically, if you want to do a master's in IT or computer sciences, you have to have a bachelor's degree that makes you eligible to apply for that master's. Meaning, in this case, the requirement is that your studies have to be at least 50% IT studies, so that you're eligible to apply for a computer science degree. To your question, I'm not completely sure. You have to ask from the school itself whether or not you could, for example, restructurize some of your studies, or whether you can actually study additional courses so that you can actually get that percentage above the 50% that is required. So honestly, I don't know. This is a new case for me, or new example for me. So unfortunately, I don't have a direct answer here. I would talk to your faculty members, for example, your study coordinator, about this to make sure. Another way for you to do it is to contact the university that you want to apply to directly, specifically their admission services, and ask them whether is there any way for you to increase the amount of IT studies in your degree so that you would be eligible to apply. Very hard for me to say here. All right. The next question, and this is actually, guys, this is the last question in the form. So if you have any more questions, now would be the time to ask them in the form so that you will get an answer. The next question comes from Fred from Argentina. And again, Fred has not yet decided whether or not he wants to study in Finland, but is interested in doing a degree in business at Alta University. And the question is Finland a good country for business-related jobs and studying business? Yes. If you have a business degree, you are going to be, you're going to do well in any country. Every country is run by businesses. okay, any country that works in a capitalist manner or through a capitalist system is going to have businesses, and if you have a business degree, you're going to do well in business. So if you, kind of referring to my previous rant about don't study what I tell you to study what you are interested in. However, having said this, if you have a degree in business, you are always going to do well as long as you know what you're doing. There's always going to be demand for people with a business degree as long as you're good at what you do. So yes, in Finland, it is definitely good to have a degree in business, and there are always going to be jobs in business. But you have to also consider here that business is a general term for everything that is done. And there are thousands, there are tens of thousands of different jobs that you could do with a business degree. Starting from doing YouTube. I have a master's degree in business, in economics and business administration, and I'm doing YouTube. Not the particularly normal path for business graduates, but I'm here. On the other hand, my actual professional background is in business-to-business sales and marketing. And in addition to the YouTube thing, I'm running a technology startup, specifically in indoor farming, in vertical farming technologies. So none of this has to do anything with my studies. However, my business degree prepared me for a general career in business. So that's an answer for you. All right, we have gone for 2 hours and 15 minutes, and actually we're currently only in 25 likes. So if you have been receiving value out of this stream, do make sure to gently tap or hit the like button. It would be awesome to get at least to 30 likes before we end the stream. If you guys have any more questions, now would be the time to post your final questions either to the forum or perhaps even to the chat. I might be able to get a couple of questions from the chat while waiting that we get up to 30 likes with the stream. And hopefully, if you have enjoyed the stream, just let me know in the chat, for example, with the thumbs up, letting me know that you are actually getting some value out of this, so that I know whether or not I should do these streams in the future as well. Actually, there is one more question in the forum, and it's coming from Sabor, and it's actually a really good one. So does remote learning, aka online classes, restrict students' course selection or choices? If yes, then to what extent? Yeah, that's a good question. In terms of our business studies, the answer is no. It hasn't restricted our studies in any way. I would say that the only restrictive thing about online classes has been in terms of laboratory classes, or for example, if you are an engineer and you would need to work in a workshop, then that might be restricted somehow, because the university campuses have been fully closed for a while. So I would say that is the key way that classes are restricted at this time. However, I would say that in any other perspective, or in every other respect, I think that studies have continued normally. But having said this, I think that the biggest impact that the COVID situation has had on studies is simply the human interaction. So not having people to talk to, not having people to meet, especially for the first year students who come from abroad or from other cities in Finland. They don't know anyone in Helsinki. They might not even know anyone in Finland. And not being able to meet people physically and get to build those relationships is really hard. It's actually had a really hard impact, a bad impact on many students, so on their mental state, which is really unfortunate. So I think that the social aspect of university, it's actually super, super important, not only for your mental health, but for your professional development as well. Especially in Finland, by the way, Amir, this is for you. In Finland, networking is one of the most important things that you need to do, or you can do, in terms of jobs and business development or personal professional development. So networking. And of course, networking is very, very hard when you have online classes. So I'm just waiting for us to get back to normal so that we can actually meet people and hang out at the campus, because the campuses in Finland are actually really cool. So that's what I would say. Cool. One more question from the forum, then I will answer Amir's question and Nionke's question from the chat. Joy, thank you so much for the positive feedback. I'm glad to hear that you learned something. Awesome. There's one question in the forum from Annette, who comes from India. And Annette has not yet decided whether or not she wants to study in Finland, but is interested in doing a master's in cybersecurity in Alta University. Nice. And the question, there's a couple of questions. Number one, is cybersecurity a popular domain, and is it easy to get a job in Finland? Great question. It is not. It's not extensively popular, meaning that not that many people actually study cybersecurity. However, this also means that people who do and who are really good in what they do in terms of cybersecurity have really, really good job career options, because Finland actually has a couple of really, really interesting multinational cybersecurity companies. For example, F-Secure, you might have heard of it. It's actually a Finnish company. They hire a lot of university graduates from Finland who have studied computer sciences, or especially if you have majored in cybersecurity. So definitely yes, cybersecurity is going to increase in importance in the future, and I would definitely recommend that you pursue this domain because it's going to be great in the future. Second question, how difficult is it to get a scholarship to Alta University? As a general rule of thumb, it's not easy. However, it's impossible for me to say how difficult. For example, there is no public information on how many scholarships there are versus how many people apply for them. So it's impossible for me to give you any statistics on this. However, as a general rule of thumb, it's not easy. So you really need to work hard on your application. Cool. All right, super quickly, Fred also posted a question in the chat, in the forum. Then I will jump into the chat for the couple of questions, and then we will end the stream. Fred had a question, which is it easy to get a girlfriend in Finnish university? Is it easy to get a girlfriend in Finland in general? Alex, if you're still online, please, you could answer this question. Fred, if you haven't seen, check out Alex's channel. Alex has actually a couple of his most popular videos are about Finnish ladies and dating in Finland. Go check them out. It's actually really funny. Is it easy? I don't know. Difficult question to answer. But Alex has a couple of really funny videos about this topic, so check them out. All right, so then a couple of questions in the chat. Nionke, for example, do you know anyone who works full-time and is pursuing their master's degrees? Me. I used to work full-time for 3 years while doing my master's. It was absolutely awful. And I actually submitted my master's thesis just a week ago. Yay. Worked on it for 2.5 years, which is exactly 2 years too long. And one of the reasons was that I was actually working full time for 3 years before I finally gave up and started focusing on school full time to get the thesis done. If you want to work full time, if you want to work full time while doing your master's, you have to be excellent at time management, as well as managing your own mental health. So being able to balance free time, work, and school at the same time, so that you are actually able to relax and rest enough between school and work. So that is just as a disclaimer. It's very hard. At least I found it extremely hard. So just a warning. Good question though. Really important question as well. Then Amir asking, U.S. business graduates are valued as any other. Business graduates are valued as any other graduates, so the country doesn't matter too much. Sometimes when you have studied in Harvard, for example, there is a little. Yeah, all right, so great. So U.S. business graduates are valued as any other graduates, so the country doesn't matter too much. Sometimes when you have studied in Harvard, for example, there is little difference. That's actually a very good point, and I totally agree. And I'm actually someone who is, I'm actually a kind of an ambassador of trying to get businesses and universities more internationalized, meaning that the country of origin should not matter. For example, in our startup, we have 5 people, 3 founders, and then we have 2 new hires in the company, or they have equity in the company as well. We have one of the founders is actually of Mexican descent. He has actually moved to Finland prior and done his full university studies in Finland, but it's really cool. He has a Mexican background, and then we have 3 Finnish people, and then we have one person who is actually half Russian, half British, and he has no Finnish nationality. So, and I first of all, I think that it's excellent that we have a multinational, multidisciplinary team. It makes us stronger. Plus, diversity in my opinion brings strength into a business. It doesn't matter if it's having both sexes as well as multiple different nationalities. I think all of those bring different perspectives and values into the company, and that makes the company stronger in general. So that's actually something. Cool. Let's see what else. Yeah, Alex is saying I have a full playlist about dating Finns. Yeah, go check that out. That's actually really funny. Definitely check it out. Nyanke, thank you so much for the congratulations. Hopefully I will be able to graduate in a couple of in a month or so when I get the thesis accepted. Anyways, it's been 2.5 hours. I think that should be it for this week. Thank you so much for the great questions this week. Again, if you have any other questions that you would have liked to ask or would have liked me to answer live, don't worry about it. I will start with those questions next week. So go ahead and post your questions into the Google form between the live streams, and I will start with your question next week. And yeah. Anyways, thank you so much for hanging out for 2.5 hours, and I will see everyone next week. Bye-bye.